Welcome to the Dental Brief, the world's direct, right-to-the-point podcast produced to get you the information you need to learn and grow your practice. To learn more about our guests and find links to information discussed on our show, visit our website, dentalbrief.com. On to today's episode.
I'm ready.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Brief. I have back on the show today Dr. Gupta. Dr. Gupta, say hello.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. Got a great topic today, a great problem that you're going to help us solve. So I'm excited. I just have to start out. The last time you were on the show, multiple times I got your website incorrect, and I apologize for that. So I want to start the show off and get it right. Your website is northridgevillefamilydentistry.com, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks,
Excellent. So last time you were on the show, you talked about physical health in the practice. You talked about some cool exercises that you can do. As soon as we were done, I got up and tried the one flat back against the wall. I can do it. Not a problem. So felt good about that at 46 years old. Today, we're going to talk about something that we have a lot of practices approach us about, which is how to market your practice out in the community and how to become part of the community from kind of an organic type approach. A lot of practices struggle getting out and meeting people, shaking hands, kissing babies, that sort of thing for a lot of people isn't something that they're very comfortable with or that they're good at. That's a big problem. Talk to us a little bit about your experience and how you built your practice using that type of outreach.
Sure. So mine and my wife's practice, it was a from-scratch office. So when we opened, we had no patients. And it literally, the day we opened, the only people that came into the office were like the mail person and I don't know, like somebody from the utility company. So we had no patients. And that was worrisome because we borrowed a ton of money to get our practice to start. And the first instinct for us was to just spend a lot of money on external marketing stuff, like mailers and that type of thing. And we did that, and we were just so disappointed with the response that we got. I mean, we were already in a lot of debt, and then we were spending more money on these marketing things that didn't seem to be as effective. At one point, a high school teacher who came into our office as a patient, she asked me, she said, "Hey, Dr. Gupta, my biology students, I kind of want to host a career day type of thing for them. Can you do a dentistry? Can you do like a 15-minute bit about dentistry?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I can do that." And I went home and I did a little PowerPoint presentation and I gave the presentation. And it happened to be pretty good. It was a pretty, I had these cool pictures of gross looking teeth. And it seemed as though the kids liked it. And I ended up getting one patient as a result. So this kid must have gone home, told mom and dad about this cool guy who came to the office. And the mom and dad were like, "Well, we're looking for a dentist anyway." And I got a patient. And it made me think, whoa, I didn't spend any money. All I did was spend a little bit of time making a PowerPoint presentation, a little time rehearsing, and I got a patient. And I thought, this is pretty sweet. This is advertising. And so at that time, I was so slow. I didn't have a lot of patients. And so I didn't have my own third grade teacher or second grade teacher or kindergarten teacher who was a patient at that time. So at that point, I actually inquired with a couple kindergartens and the local elementary school. And I asked them, can I do a presentation about eating too much sugar and how to take care of your teeth? And every third grade teacher they'll welcome a 30-minute break, right?
Of course, yeah.
The thought of some dude coming to the class and talking about something, awesome, because
right.
they were all like, "Yeah, we'll have this guy come and talk." And so again, I spent a little bit of time doing a PowerPoint presentation about sugar bugs. And I showed up. I had the entire third grade. They were, so all the third grade teachers, they just pushed all their kids into this gym and they put a projector there. And I was able to do a presentation about sugar bugs and about how important teeth are and how to take care of them. And at the end of that presentation, every kid got a little bag with my practice, a business card and toothbrushes that have our name and our website printed on them. And in the 2-3 months that followed that, I got like 6 or 7 new patient families. And I thought, this is crazy. I spent a ton of money on these stupid mailers and got like 1 patient for 6 months. And now I'm spending $0, a little bit of effort, a little bit of time outside of my comfort zone, and I'm getting new patients as a result. And that happened about maybe 13 years ago. And I've never stopped. Every year I go and give major big presentations to kindergartners and first graders and second graders. When my kids were little, I always went to their school and gave talks to their, and that always results in new patients. But the problem is, Patrick, I don't really like having little kids. I'm not a good dentist for little kids. I'm like I'm all like, I like seeing adults, right?
Sure.
You have like this personality to see little kids and be like,
Yeah.
hey, Billy, how's the baseball team? I'm not very good at that. And so I thought, I want to see adults who need dental implants and stuff like that. That's like the patients I want to have. And so I kept on inquiring with the North Ridgeville, that's the city where I practice, the senior center at North Ridgeville, and the Rotary Club. These are adults. And I wanted to give a presentation. I called it The 10 Habits of Highly Effective Teeth. And
great.
I just kept on inquiring, kept on getting rejected or having emails not.
How are you inquiring?
So I would find out who the president or the city administrator was who handled the senior center or the Rotary Club. And I would ask in the city where I practice, North Ridgeville, and the nearby suburbs. And I would ask if I could give these presentations. And finally I got one. And it went really well. I put a lot of thought and effort into it. And that not only brought me new patients, but it brought me patients who were already like the most valuable kind of patients. The ones that already know you, already like you, already kind of trust you, and are somewhat interested in a particular service that you have to offer. There's no better patient than that, right? That's like the quadrifecta, right? That's perfect. A patient that knows you, likes you, trusts you, and is eager to begin treatment. It's like the best new patient ever. And I got a couple of those. And I thought, okay, I cannot get lazy. I'm going to put every effort I can into this. And so local businesses, large employers, school districts, Rotary clubs, knitting clubs, any club, I would try to find the organization's director. And I asked them, I would buy Panera bread and pay for lunch, and so that I would get a good turnout.
Sure.
And I ended up with great turnouts, and that has snowballed. Where I would say 15 times a year now, I'm being asked to give a presentation to a different group. Now to the point where I need to come up with different content because obviously I can't just give the same presentation.
Right. Yeah. So I think everything that you're saying is great and I agree with it. I think the pushback a lot of dentists listening to this are going to have is that, hey, I just don't like doing this. It's not me. I don't like to schmooze. I don't like to mingle. I don't like to network. I don't like any of this, but it's still required, right? So if you have more time than you have money for advertising, then I think it is something that you do have to do, and you do have to become good at it. If you're not good at it, you don't like it. What are some steps that you can take, and what's your experience there to help you get good at it? And I say that with, obviously, you're very outgoing guy.
So 2 responses. Number one is that my wife she doesn't have the same personality that I do. I'm very comfortable in front of a crowd. And so it's unfair for me to just go up to a shy person and say, hey, shy person, you need to go up in front of a bunch of people and give a presentation. Because it's easy for me. It's not that easy for others. However, my wife and I, we practice together, and she didn't want me to be the only face of the practice in the community. And so she actually joined Toastmasters. This was 7 years ago. Do you know what Toastmasters is?
I do know what it is, but I've never been myself, and I've heard some rumors. So why don't you give us a quick 1 minute?
So Toastmasters, it's just a community organization where groups of people who want to become better public speakers get together and they practice. That's all they do.
Sure.
So she goes on Wednesdays. Now it's over Zoom, but she used to go live at the public library nearby. And there would be about 20 other people there, and they would just practice giving presentations. So one person will say, give a presentation about the vegan diet, and another person would give a presentation about their definition of liberty or something like that. Just anything that floats their boat.
Sure.
And then they would be judged and offered constructive criticism. And my wife found that there were a lot of elements of her public speaking style that were actually very relatable and very likable. But people said, listen, you need to own up to some of this stuff. And then you need to just work on a little bit of your self-confidence. And so 2 years in, she actually started giving some of the same presentations that I was giving because she started to gain some of that confidence. So
quick question for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did she meet any patients at Toastmasters?
So neither of us are very self-promoting, right? So
okay.
You know how you said, oh, I don't like to schmooze? Neither do I, neither does she. Okay. And so we're not the type to just hand out our business card and be like, hey, I'm looking for a new dentist. That's just, I think that there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not our style. Sure. And so did new patients come as a result? Absolutely. But it wasn't because she was outwardly marketing our practice or the fact that she's a dentist locally. I think people just kind of sought her out because she was a likable person and their dentist was retiring or whatever the case was. And so they became patients of ours.
What other resources besides Toastmaster are you aware of that can help some of our audience with those public speaking and practicing, becoming a little bit more outgoing and working in the community?
So there's for those who are listening, who are readers, there's an author that I would recommend, and his last name is Gitomer, Gitomer. His name is Jeffrey Gitomer. And he seems like he's probably a very gregarious, very comfortable with public speaking individual. And he's written a series of books called like The Little Red Book of Selling, or The Little Green Book of Presenting, or The Little whatever. And I read actually all of them. And Nisha, my wife, she read quite a few of them as well. And these are they're very easy to read books. They almost read like comic books. And they give such wonderful step-by-step ways to implement a stronger public speaking acumen for anybody who's reading. And I don't even know the guy. It's not like I have any benefit to promoting this, but it really helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, it's great advice. And this whole subject, something that I like to clarify with people is the difference between marketing and advertising. I believe that marketing is everything that you do, whether you're aware of it or not within your practice. So I believe that marketing is everything from the presentation of your office to the way that you answer the phone, to the hours of the day that you answer the phone, to the way that you follow up with patients, both those that you've seen in the office and those that you have not. And then advertising is one little bit of that marketing picture, if you will. Yeah. And so I consider advertising like those postcards you mentioned. That's not marketing, that's advertising. Presenting in the community, that's not marketing, that's advertising. And they all kind of fit within that plan. Does that kind of sound familiar to you?
Yeah, actually, I think you make a really good point. Actually, if I could expand on that,
Go.
So I don't live in the same community where I practice. I live one community over. And when I started doing these talks, the talks were primarily in the community where I practice. And I realized at that point, when I go to get groceries or when I go to the library with my kids, I don't want to go to the library in my community anymore, because part of being visible is just literally being visible. I mean, sure, giving a talk, that's highly effective. But just being at the library and having other parents see, oh, look, that guy, I know that guy. I've seen that guy before. Or going to the grocery store and having other patients say, oh, I know that guy. That's a dentist. He's a nice guy. Starting to do more of just your normal everyday things in the community where you practice is actually quite effective. And it's its own form of advertising. Yep. It's just being less invisible as a professional in your community. Yep. Patrick, I don't know if we have time, but I wanted to talk for a moment about something else, and that's health fairs. Do I have a moment?
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
So what I found was there was this big push around the time that the Affordable Care Act was passed. So what was that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever. And there was this big push where insurance carriers were giving large employers opportunities to reduce their overall premiums if those employers would have more programming that would encourage better health of their employees. Makes sense, right?
Yep.
And so employers all of a sudden started having motivation, having incentives for putting together health fairs and lunch and learns. And what you'll find, so in my little podunk community, there's probably about 6 employers that want to have professionals come and talk about better health. And they host once a year, they host a health fair. And of course, because I was really into this and I was promoting this quite a bit, they always asked me to be the dentist who came to the health fair. And this, while I think that giving lectures is the most effective way to get the most high value new patient, health fairs might be number 2. And that's where you have a little table and you get to meet people who work for this particular company and introduce yourself and introduce your service.
Sure.
Now, what we did, and I hope every listener does this, we have an intraoral camera called a mouthwatch. I brought my laptop and I brought my mouthwatch and a bunch of barriers, a bunch of those plastic barriers. And when people came to our table, we took pictures of their lower lingual anterior teeth. You know, the teeth that get really nasty when you get your teeth cleaned. That's all. And then on my computer, they got to see this blown up photo of their nasty teeth. And I'm telling you, it was like the most of it. Like our table had like 1 million people around it because they wanted to either make fun of their friend,
right, yeah,
or they wanted to check themselves. And I had been doing health fairs for years where I was like giving out toothbrushes and other lame stuff. And, I would get a few people visit it. Nobody really wanted to talk to us. They just wanted the free toothbrush. But this was like people were really getting to know us. So what I would challenge anybody who does a health fair, do something really provocative like that, something that will like gain a tremendous amount of interest, because that was awesome. I mean, that was really, really nice for visibility.
Yeah, and I'll add one piece of advice there myself. When you do these types of events, and I'm not speaking to you, I know you won't know this inside and out, but the general audience, make sure you get the contact information of every person that you come in touch with. So, email, address, name and number, because over the years, you can build a database of literally thousands of people that you can market directly to that cost you nothing, or virtually nothing to send out an email to them once every 3 months or 6 months. So ideally building your own audience to advertise to is something you want to do. But if you don't, at that health fair, gather a list of email addresses, and you leave with just, maybe you get a couple of people that do call you. That's great, but you missed a huge opportunity on 20, 30, 40, 100 people to follow up with long-term. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Dr. Gupta, we thank you so much for coming on the show. You're always a pleasure. Audience, northridgevillefamilydentistry.com. Check out the website, Dr. Gupta. You also do speaking events and talk at meetings and are available for lectures and that sort of thing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, that website is called, it's just my name, AnkurGuptaDDS.com.
Perfect. Yeah. So check out both of the sites. I encourage our audience to get in touch for more information. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
You got it. All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Did you know you can weigh in on today's topic on Facebook? Search The Dental Brief on Facebook or visit our website, dentalbrief.com, and just follow the link. We look forward to having you join us again on another episode of The Dental Brief.